Welcome to Visibility Unlimited. I'm Leslie Short, your host and owner of the Cavo Group. We work with companies and organizations to expand beyond their current culture. Visibility Unlimited discusses topics focusing on diversity, inclusion, leadership, culture, and current events. Look out for my book, Expand Beyond Your Current Culture, out January 2021. Enjoy this episode and remember to subscribe to stay updated on future podcasts. Welcome to Visibility Unlimited. Today's discussion is all about the social media challenge, #challenge. Do you know what they mean? Why are you doing them? Do you know where the money goes? What's going on with all these social media challenges? I look forward to hearing which ones you've done, who you've given money to, and why you've taken the challenge.
Thank you for joining us here this Wednesday, August 5th. The topic of discussion today is social media #challenges. And one of the few things that we wanted you to think about during the week as we prepare for this discussion is do you understand the context of the various challenges that have been passing through social media? Also, which challenges have you taken part of and why? And now that you've taken the challenge, now what? What's the next steps after this? So, as always, if you have any questions, definitely don't hesitate to put them in the chat. As well as you can unmute your mic and ask the questions directly. This is an open and honest conversation. So with that being said, I will hand it over to Leslie. And again, thank you for joining us here this Wednesday.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I think I know all of you. So we're just going to jump into it. You know who I am. I've actually gotten excited about this conversation. The more I start thinking about it, the more I start researching, the more I start going, because I'm not one to usually take challenges, and I did take one. But before we get into the one that I took, let's just talk about some of the ones that's out there and has been out there. Okay? You have the Agency Creative True Color Challenge. I'll come back to that. And then you have the ASL, you had the #Change Hollywood, you had the #Pull Up, you had the #Blackout Tuesday, you had the Bring Back Our Girls, you had the #I Accept the Challenge. So let's talk about some of these. The Agency Creative True Colors. Like, I don't know, did you know about this challenge when you did the invite? So you just automatically took the colors out of our logo?
Yeah, I just did it because of the background. I thought it was going to be a great contrast to it. So no, I didn't know anything about any other challenge that was out there.
Well, I started laughing because I had a feeling you didn't. But there is a challenge out at this moment to call out, which doesn't apply to us, call out companies that take their color out of their logo and repost it as black and white because they have no blacks or people of color on leadership or on their boards. Who knew, right? So that's one challenge. Then you have the pull-up challenge that we've spoken about before. And that pull-up challenge is all about the companies that have made commitments, but again, have no blacks or brown people on their boards or senior levels. And they're always talking about their commitment and how great they are with community, yet internally something's not right. So they've been telling them to pull up. And it has been working, this one. I see that the companies have started responding back to the Instagram post. No, here's what we're doing, and look at this, and speak to that person. So there's something going on there. We know the the ASL, the ice bucket, and it was to raise money. Now, we know that it started that way, and then it just seemed like everybody was dumping ice all over everybody's head. I do know, and I don't have the amount of money that was raised for that. My biggest thing is part of this. At what point does it go from challenge as a social justice challenge to just, oh, let's just do it? Okay. So then you had the Challenge Hollywood. There's a lot of Black actors that have come together to challenge Hollywood to change how they're hiring, to put on more production staff, African Americans, people of color, from from staff all the way in front of the screen and behind the screen. Okay, so that's the hashtag Change Hollywood. Hashtag pull up. Hashtag Blackout Tuesday. Now we all know that went so awry. AKA put a black box up and be I'm down for the cause. So the cause was for African Americans and folks of color not to shop on Tuesday, to make a dent in the economic. Erica said it just went, huh? To make a difference in the economic community. Like, let's show our power. Don't shop on that Tuesday. It was Blackout Tuesday. What most companies saw and took it upon themselves to be like, oh, let's put a black box that shows solidarity. Zero context to what it was.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
And I think that needs to be said in regards to a bunch of these challenges as well too. A lot of these things get co-opted by other groups and used for various different reasons. So I just want to clarify on Blackout Tuesday, that was actually for the music industry where it was going to be silence. They were going to silence themselves to give, light to Black artists. And I will applaud, Apple Music at this time, because if you pulled up Apple Music on Blackout Tuesday, where everybody was posting the black boxes, you couldn't go to different radio stations. They were literally only playing Black artists the entire day because that was the purpose of it. And along the way, when it was being, I guess when it was spreading through the realm of social media, other people co-opted it to mean different things. And I think that's one thing, maybe you may have this later on in the conversation, but I think that's one thing that should be discussed as well too. How do you protect whatever the challenge is to make sure that it has the right message going forward through that? So I just wanted to correct that on the origin of Blackout Tuesday.
No, that's great, but I think that becomes part of the. We'll go through some of that. Becomes part of the issue. The clarity of why you're doing something when you start it needs to be there. The music industry did it among themselves, but it spread so quick that they lost complete control over it. And you're right. Thank you. We've had this conversation. Then you have Bring Back Our Girls, and this has been for years from Nigeria, when all the Nigerian young girls went missing. So hashtag Bring Back Our Girls, which was a government call to action. Then you have the doctors, the female doctors. I'm getting to the one that we all want to talk about in a second. The female doctors challenge. You all are staring at me. So if you didn't see about that, there was a female doctor, that posted herself in a bikini on vacation. And the men doctors ripped her and said, how dare you? You're not professional. And it went through this whole thing. So a lot of the female doctors and nurses said, oh, you want to play gender stereotypes, or you want to play sexist? And they all start taking pictures of themselves in bathing suits for the cause of gender equality. Then there is the one that I actually took. Now, I knew part of the story. I found out the rest of it later. So I know that if I had understood the entire story, I would have written something a little bit differently, but I would have taken part of this. The only reason I did is I had like 16 different invites. Like, my Instagram was crazy. And it was other women nominating me as a strong woman to do it. Now, I could be my normal self, and there's someone on the call who I won't out that was like, I have no desire to be part of this thing. And I was like, I don't normally either. But I've had so many women that weren't even in my circle reach out to me, that, and then I did my research and I found out what it was about. I did not know the full context. And that was the challenge, or is the challenge, for the black and white photos. I purposely chose my photo, and it's the one that's on the invite of me boxing, for a reason. Because you see my face all over the bloody place anyway in black and white on a good day. And the challenge, the black and white photos, is twofold. One, it started about cancer. I think it was in 2016. It was a rallying cry. And then it's been picked up for women empowerment. But it started in Turkey. I don't know if any of you know the story. It started in Turkey because women are being murdered in Turkey. And every time they open up the paper, there's rows and rows of black and white photos of someone that has been murdered. And so it was a way for women to say, we're not going to stand for this anymore. We do have a voice. We want to find out what's going on. There is an empowerment. And then, by the time we got to America, us, we did a little shift, and it was empower women. Still an amazing cause, and I'm still happy to see the amount of women that did put pictures out. I think a few years ago, a lot of women probably would not have. They would have been self-conscious about it. But so many women did stand to the plate. I just hope that they understand that the plate was bigger than the women here, that there's a social consciousness of stop having to open up a newspaper and see black and white photos of dead women. And so it really started me to thinking of why do we do these challenges? And what photos are we choosing? Because that, if you notice, the media start picking up quick that this is more than your black and white glamour shot. Like, it's great that women have jumped in, but this is not glamour shot time. This is actually raising awareness for the amount of women that are being killed in Turkey. And it didn't start there, it started somewhere else. And so when I chose my photo of myself boxing, one is because I think it was the best shape I was ever in. So yes, there was a bad thing to that. But two, I felt the strength of a woman. That at 40 years old, I started boxing. The fact that I just lost my boxing coach to the virus. The fact that at 40 years old, a Mexican boxing gym took this little black girl walking in heels, handing them my credit card, telling me I want to box, and then I want to fight, and then I want to train, and winning belts. And that the strength that I had and the strength that came along with that. When everyone told me I could not do it, I would not do it, and you're too old to do it. So I chose that picture because that was the strength, and that was empowerment of myself and other women. I hope to say at any age we get to do whatever we want. But the context of behind, I wish I would have said, I stand and I fight for every woman that is missing, for every young girl that is missing. So when we take these challenges, where does it lose the social justice aspect to let's just post pictures and let's hashtag and let's challenge. So this is a conversation we can I don't look at the chat, but we can start a conversation. I did think I saw something come in, and Erica, I know you were like, I can't wait for this one. So feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so I have so many mixed emotions about this. So first, my favorite of all the challenges was the distractingly sexy, the women scientists, because there was some dumbass who was like, well, women shouldn't be in the lab because they distract all the men. So it was women in these get-ups with like mud all over. It was amazing. That was my favorite. But I've gone back and forth on this because I did participate personally in, just privately as me, in the Blackout Tuesday. Had no idea it was about the economic power. I had read someplace that it was an opportunity basically for white folks to shut it and amplify Black voices. So I was like, okay, like I can do this. And black box, Black Lives Matter, black box, shut it for a while. So it's interesting that it had so many different connotations, and I had no idea it started with the music industry, or that it was, so it's really interesting how quickly that changes. And then some of it, I don't generally do challenges. I did that one. I haven't done any of them since, but it's also, you get a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of, like, the women challenge. I had so many people, and some people are like, why haven't you done this yet? And I'm like, because I'm good. Like, so it's really interesting how that becomes like, I want to see your receipts. I want to see this. And then it makes it performative, as opposed to, like, you don't know I don't share everything on bloody Instagram. Like, piss off. And I'm not going to show you my receipts to organizations that I care about, because it's none of your damn business. So yeah, so I'm very mixed.
No, I agree with you. I ignored 16 invites. And then I said, it's women empowerment. And like I said, I did a little bit of research. I did not do enough, but I'm still happy it was what it was supposed to be. And then I did it. And I was done. And yes, I put 2 names, 2 Black names, female names, or I don't think they did it either, but that I felt should be amplified. And so, yeah, the peer pressure in it, yeah, most of them I could care less. I'll be absolutely honest. You send me 800. I know I'm gonna lose out on the money challenge. I'm gonna lose out on send the hard. Tag 15 women and you get that. Nah, I don't have time for all of that. But I finally did do that one. Like I said, I don't regret doing it. I do regret the true message getting lost across the pond. I do, it's bothersome to see. You can open your mics. We have a nice small group. You guys can just jump in and say something.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to out myself. I was the one who said that to Leslie, that I had no interest in posting a black and white photo, because ultimately, and I had a lot of friends doing it. Leslie's was actually a great example of how it should have been done, but I felt overall a lot of people were just taking the latest glamour shot and posting it, but there was no meaning or substance behind it, I felt. And then it was like a chain where it'd be like, and I nominate this person, and it just kept continuing and continuing. And I said to Leslie, I was like, I'm not doing that. And actually, it was more the tone she said earlier than what I just did. But then, in general, I typically don't do a lot of social media challenges, even though it's probably in my peer range to actively do them, because a lot of times I just don't see the real significance. Because my issue with it has always been, well, once you're done with that post, what are you doing next? And that's always been my issue with that, is that people post it on their Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and then that's as far as the action goes. So a lot of times to me, it just feels like, yet again, another platitude.
I agree. Thank you. And that's why I think probably why I was like okay with the women empowerment, because I fight for that all day, every day. I've stood in the UN and spoken about it. I do speeches on it. So it's something that is important to me. But like I said, I wish I had known the other side of looking at opening the newspaper and seeing those faces there, because I would have added that into it. So now I added into it to make sure, and I continue to speak about that challenge. But I've watched the news explode because it went so awry so quickly, from black and white to glamour, 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 glamour. I felt like we were back in the mall taking pictures. But yet, again, I was happy to see so many diverse women doing it. But do we know why? And like what you said, now what? I feel like I say that 2020 is the now what? Now what? Do you give to an organization? Are you following what's happening? Are you committing to that cause? Or you just did it and we're good?
I just have a comment to add to that, and to go back to what Erica was speaking about the muting of Caucasian voices to give light to Black voices. Um, the byproduct of it was it was still great that people like yourself were doing that as well. And I shared that with a few friends. Um, I shared that comment with a few friends on Blackout Tuesday. Like, this is the time to actually like promote yourself, and tell your story. Being in part because yes, while the big brands and everything and everyone else was blacking themselves out or muting themselves, it still was a great opportunity to get your voice out there. I purposely went through LinkedIn that day and posted like one video on LinkedIn, and it had probably like 20,000 views on it just that day. And I know it was because of, a lot of other people not posting or only having the black tile up there. And then to add to the other comment that Leslie just stated as well too, I think there is some good that comes out of this, even if it's misdirected to a certain extent. So for example, with this black and white challenge, it forced not only yourself to go and do research on it, but I'm sure other people are going to find out where the origins of this challenge comes from. So while there might not be additional steps afterwards, like the now what part of it, it still has done some work, some greater good to have people go and go and find the origins of it, to bring to light some of the things that necessarily would not come to light. So for example, like myself, I would have never like just searched anywhere to find out like women are being killed in Turkey, on a daily basis. That's the origin for it. But now, since, doing this webinar, it's like, okay, well, let me go actually do some research on where some of these challenges originated from to educate myself on it. So I think it does have some tertiary benefits to any challenge that's thrown out there.
Absolutely. And I think it comes back to who you are in the process of whatever you do, right? We're going to have those of us that jump on the bandwagon and just ride along. Those are the ones your mother told you not to follow. They jump off the cliff. You want to jump off the cliff? As opposed to us that will get on a bandwagon, but we're going to have details of where that wagon's going. Who's driving the wagon? And what time will we get in there? Who else is on there? And those types of things. And I think in the time that we're in, I think those are important questions to ask. It wasn't so much a challenge, but it was kind of a takeover when Black voices, celebrity voices, took over white celebrity voices' Instagram. And you watched who gave up theirs and who they invited to take over. And you saw the backlash for some, and you saw the amazing, wow, this was great, just being able to speak to new audiences. And so I think it's how we all approach this. But let's take a step back. Somewhere along the line when these things start, whose responsibility, maybe no one's, is it to keep the social justice piece of it throughout? Because it has to be more than a hashtag. Because let's be honest, you can add 30 hashtags. We have out hashtags the many Blacks that have been killed by police. So we get the hashtag. I think I'm still looking for that something else. Yes, awareness, conversation. So you had for the ASL, the ICE challenge, clearly you saw there was a being. Am I saying it right? It's the ASR. It's the being. There was a person that was in the chair. You saw, you connected, and then it kind of went around and it was raising money. You saw kind of the after effects. You're starting to see the pull up campaign make a difference. If you're following that. Now, like you said, the black and white, we're getting the knowledge of that. Well, when is it too much? You get to pick and choose whatever you're getting involved with. How do we use social media? And this is what's happening. It comes back to, again, how are we using social media? And how are we using it for good? And how do you keep the message the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I didn't see too many on LinkedIn. Did anyone else see the Black and White Challenge on LinkedIn? I did not see it. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm surprised it did not make it to LinkedIn. I'm surprised someone didn't decide, I'm just going to do it. I'm glad it didn't. It's not, I don't think it was the place for it. But
I think another thing to add to that too is that, like, with these challenges and anything that you post on social media, it's kind of hard to how can I say this? Unless you're like a big brand with a lot of marketing dollars, it's kind of hard to protect that message and make sure that it stays on track to what the original meaning is. And I'll give an example of that with people on TikTok and President's speech over in Tulsa, where they bought up all the tickets. I mean, obviously the tickets were available. It's kind of hard with social media. So with social media, there is some good that comes of it because you're able to get a message out there fairly quickly, and it could spread to many different places at one time. But also, I don't think there's a way that us as individuals or even as groups of people to kind of commandeer, I wouldn't say commandeer, but I would say like protect a message on there. It would take far more work than it's worth to try to police that. So unless you're like some big brand with like millions upon millions of dollars in marketing, then I think it's you're kind of at the whim of how society wants to take it and how they take it. And you hope that at the end of the day, you know, someone or enough people get the message and take it into the right direction where it needs to go.
so to that effect, you did say though, think about the TikTok kids. I'm gonna call them kids. They got it together. And they did it and they pulled together in all around the states, and they were able to secretly figure that out and do it. So I also think if you're starting a campaign, you have to also have your councils of people in different states with the same message, and you blast it all out at the same time and different things. Even then, you're right. There's no guarantee, but I think if you're pulling enough in, and you're like, please tag this every time you do it. It's not only the hashtag, but there's something else. Yeah, it's going to get discombobulated at some point, but I think it at least starts out strong, because most of them have just quickly gone viral and quickly lost the message. Was there something that was coming in?
I was that Nance was asking a question, but before that, I just want to say a comment to that where it can go to. I don't know if anybody heard about Fire Festival. They spent a lot of money on social media campaign to dupe people out of their money there. So it sometimes can, backfire. But again, it took millions of dollars to be able to get everyone to put the little orange tile there and to get everybody on board. So, one thing about TikTok, yeah, it's there, but I don't, how do you inject? It's almost like the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio. How do you inject an idea into a social network and hope that it steers in the right way? And I think this, with the Republican convention in Tulsa, I think it was more of like happenstance, where it was like, maybe once in a lifetime or maybe once in a generation type thing. I don't know. Maybe it might happen again, but now that the world knows the power of it, I mean, it's going to be hard for it to happen again. I just personally hope that we as individuals use social media for the good, and not, on the other side of it where it can go really, really bad if someone used it in nefarious ways and use that group thought or a hashtag in a certain way to do nefarious things with. So that's all I wanted to add to that. And Nance can definitely chime in and comment as well.
Nothing next? No, so it is right. I think social media, all the platforms can be used as good. but it's also what's the end game? There may not be an end game. That's what we're looking at. What's the end game? We do all of this, right? We put all the pictures out. Yes, we have awareness. Is there somebody, here I'm going to go with bloody policy again. Is there someone on the other side pushing government to make it happen? Are you looking at this from different angles? Like, at what point do you have, it's just like a strategic team. We're going to put this hashtag out. We're going to do this. Oh, maybe we're going to go viral. As soon as it goes viral, who's the team that you have set up pushing the other side as you're pushing this side? Because otherwise you lose the momentum. And you don't have a campaign, you have a hashtag. And the entire point of having this hashtag to push something is to push it and make it change, the change for the better. So any thoughts on that? Like, how do you build a team? Not that I have a new hashtag I'm trying to run out and start pushing or anything, but what's the team that you need to build in order for these type of campaigns to be successful and for people to understand why they're involved? I don't know. Is it too soon to tell? Like you said, TikTok, someone to find, now we know about it. I'm going to vote that there's another group of younger people that's already figured out a new way to do something else new. While we over here still trying to figure out what they did, they're already plotting how to maneuver. And that's the joy of, I guess, of having youth, of innovation, having other countries involved. That there's certain things that are just moving quick. Okay, what happens if TikTok is gone? I don't tick and I don't talk. What happens if TikTok is gone, right? They've already named 3 other companies that could take its place. Where did they come from? I've never even heard of these companies. So there's always going to be that next thing that we went from, didn't have MySpace, didn't use that, don't know what that was good for or not good for. Facebook, I found a way to use it for business. Twitter, I use for business. Instagram, I use for business. But there's others that it can be social justice. And I think this is the new wave of having these social justice conversations are definitely on social media at this point. That's where I see the change happening. I just hope we don't lose the message of change as we post and post and post.
Not to go off task, but I see Nance put up their actions, and we've been talking about like what's the end game on there. And I think it comes down to, just my opinion, I think it comes down to someone in power, and not even in power necessarily in a government office, but you're talking about someone like, I don't know, maybe a Jay-Z, maybe a Beyonce, somebody that has, millions upon millions of followers, and they use that power that they have of influence to direct change within a community. There are certain I would say artists that I follow on social media that do have that certain influence, but what it seems like to bring about action, it seems like them to stick to I guess a clear and concise thesis, and then follow through on that, and focus on whatever that issue is and follow through on that. And I'll just name one in particular. Y'all probably don't know who he is, but he's out of Atlanta. T.I. is someone who's very outspoken. I'm just saying he's very Sorry, Kim, if you know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insinuate anything.
Wow. I think he's calling us old, but go ahead.
But yeah, someone like T.I. to come out and like literally influence the people that follow him, or someone like, even, I know everybody knows, like a Kanye West, who's actually running for president as well too. I mean, once he takes his meds, and then he's able to complete a clear thought. I think someone of that stature is needed to actually like influence, to bring about the action that we're looking for at the end. Because it's great to have a hashtag or have a campaign or a team of people to do it, but a lot of these things go viral, not from some high office in a retail location. It comes from the streets, the people that are actually on these platforms. And so you need someone at that level, that's willing to step out and wield their power to say, hey, I'm going to be the spokesperson for this cause and shepherd that cause until the end until action is taken.
Well, that's part of the issue. So one, I'm not following celebrity. I'm really not. I still haven't seen what Beyonce's new thing is. Sorry. Nothing against the Beehive. Just want to be clear. I know they're strong. So that's where I come back to. There has to be different tiers in this. So yes, everything, it starts from the streets. So who are your street activists even? Who are your street influencers? Who are your street celebrities? And then who's the next level? And then there has to be that one maybe politician or city person that's involved. Everyone has to pick up a torch along the way. Because see, that's the only way it begins to change. Because if we look at Hakeem Jeffries, he quoted what was it, Biggie on the Congress floor? So you don't know for where your your followers may be able to lead you, or to who has influence where. If you're going to look for systemic change, we need to start from the streets, and we have to build along the way, because we're speaking to too many people and enough people, and we need to do it in many different languages. Okay.
Yeah, if I may I'm just going to chime in real quick. One of the things that I saw when they were after George Floyd was that it was T.I. and it also was Killer Mike. And what happened is that Mayor Keisha Bottoms, she actually called them into Atlanta to get some calm, because she did not want to send the police out there. She knew what was going to happen. So what she did, she used her influence. She called T.I. T.I. called Killer Mike, because Killer Mike got up and said he did not want to be part of this. But because of the relationship he has with T.I. and the respect that he had for Mayor Bottoms, they were able to come out there and calm things down. So definitely, Leslie, I agree with you about it has to be people at the grassroots level. Even our President Obama, he talks about even the I'm kind of, I guess I'm endorsing them on their podcast. But they talk about on their podcast, Michelle and Barack Obama, they talk about how they're grassroots and they started listening to the people, because that's where the stuff is happening. That's when you find out about what's going on in the supermarkets. What's going on here? Oh, this supermarket prices are high, or they don't serve us, or they're walking around following us. That's where you get the information. You get it from the barbershop, even though now it might be one person in there, but it's at the it's at the grassroots level. We all know. I mean, when I used to get my hair done, and I'm sure you ladies know too, is that not where the scuttlebutt is? It's at the beauty salons and the hair salons and the nail salons at the grassroots level. And if they could just, I think, have more politicians or even people of influence have more of their ear to the ground, they would actually have more of an influence and find out and be able to address the issues that's actually going on that level, so that we can get more done. That they do have the power. We have the power too, but I think also, like you saying, staying focused, I think, is where the problem is, because like you're also saying, Micah, a lot of stuff gets co-opted. Because I remember the Blackout Tuesdays. Now I joined that one because I said, no, I wasn't gonna shop. I had no money to shop anyhow, but beside the point. But I wasn't gonna shop. Now I recall, and I'm telling my age now, back in the 90s, where there was an issue that happened in Brooklyn, where there was an issue with a Korean grocery store. And that was something that happened where people decided that they were not going to shop at that grocery store. Now, Reverend Al was one of the backers of that, and some of the other grassroots people, before you even got to Reverend Al, it was some of the grassroots leaders right here in Brooklyn that they got words on this. Oh no, you're not going to be treated us like that. We're going to boycott this store. And it made a big difference. So I think that's where it is, working with the grassroots, the politicians, those that are influencers, especially on social media now, definitely. And if people could do it back in the day where they didn't have all those Gloria Steinem and different people were just marching and walking and just solidifying themselves with the issues at hand, we can definitely do it now with social media.
100%. And I saw.
Sorry to interrupt that. Sorry. I apologize. I just want to add a point to that with social media. Some of the issues with using social media to do these things and organize via social media is that the cops and law enforcement are already in on social media. And so therefore, I mean, we saw at the last election, you know, how it got Cambridge Analytica had our data and was influencing us through Facebook and everything. So how do we keep the message again? Goes back to how do we keep the message pure? So yeah, we're asking for actions at the end, but how do we know that's the actions of the collective group that it's there and it's not somebody that is co-opted there with bots or something else of the sort? So I mean it's a hard one. Yeah, it's a hard one to figure out there. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah,
No,
I'm just gonna jump in real quick. I'll give you the example. Sometimes we gotta go the old school way. Like, you know, sometimes it gotta be by word of mouth. I remember, I'm gonna give you an example of one day I was at work and everything shut down. We lost all power, and they always used to make fun of me because I used to write everything. I'm a frustrated lawyer like you, Leslie. I write everything on legal pads. I kept working, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm working because you guys is hooked into. So I think also that is a lot of it too. Is that back in the day, it was the older people, the elder, they would get stuff done. They didn't need a lot of this stuff, even though we've evolved so much now. But I agree with you, Micah. It does get co-opted. Like, you know, the police are definitely on Facebook. They're definitely on Instagram. They're trying to do different things, not in a bad way, because I know somebody who's a police officer where they actually say they're on, you know, Facebook trying to catch people because people are foolish enough to actually film murders and nonsense like that. So, you know, but anyhow.
No, look, it's a combination of everything. There is no one right way. You know, I think I said something, letter writing. So people take that, and I know that's an old art form, but if you have people that are passionate, let them write the letters. Let the ones that want to march. Let the ones that are good on social media and know how to maneuver the bots to stay one step ahead or one step behind. I know some of the organization for some of the protests, they're private. That you have to be referred in. Doesn't mean it still can't be someone undercover, but you have to be referred in to know where the marches are going to be. There's those types of things. So, but all of that is good. But if we don't keep building who's in the prongs that can keep the conversation going, that can get on the Congress floor, that can be in those rooms, that are sitting at those tables, you know, that can bring along the TI and this one along the way, you know, whoever that is of influence, you know, it has to be a full 360, thought out, strategic. This is how we're going to make an impact. We're going to take intent. You know, I'm always like, we all have great intentions. How do we take the intent from impact to action?
And I think a lot of these challenges, they go viral, but they don't have any action affiliated with them. It's a challenge with no action stated. And if the challenge was combined with only one, don't give me 10, give me one simple action that I can take, I'm going to take that thing, I'm going to invest in that challenge, and then I know what I'm supposed to do. I also think it probably keeps the message a little bit clearer because there is an action affiliated with it. And I think that's why TikTok was so successful, because it was basically like, and it was a bunch of kids. Most of them aren't even voting age. And they were like, hey, go reserve a ticket on Eventbrite. And they did it in droves. Like, I just want to give a mad hug and kiss to every single one of them. But there was an action affiliated with it, and it was one action, and it was simple. So that's where I think the power is if there's challenge plus an action item, then I think more can actually happen.
Erica, you hit it right. That's so perfect. You are absolutely right. Because we always go, you know, in the marketing world, because I know you're in all, what's your call to action? What do you need people to do? What do you want them to do? Don't leave them sitting there. Don't, you know, back in the day, don't leave money on the table. Make sure you ask them to do something. And I think sometimes we forget that in the social media world. We're so busy posting the pretty picture or posting the hashtag that we don't tell people what to do. I mean, I need you to register. I need you to do this. I don't need you to just to thumb up. I need you to share. I need you, you know, and then it also how many times you ask. You know, if you ask too much, uh, call your congressman, call this, call that, ship to that, show up here, do that. You're like, okay, you're asking too much now. But yes, give that. Here's the one task, here's the one hashtag, and here's the one ask. You know, and then I think that, like you said, will begin to grow, and people will know that there needs to be some type of action to it. You know, I don't know sometimes how much we are action people. We like to speak about action. We love to say where we were, where we've been, and who we know. But when we strip it all down, what exactly are you doing for it? So I always like to say, I will stand with you when you stand with me.
If I may, I think also you have to have a passion for something. I mean, Robert, Eric, I'm sorry. Erica, you make a good point. Because doing 10 things, and like you said, doing 10 things, I think if you have a passion for something, stick with that one organization. And if it lines up with your values and your ideals, then stay with that. I know when I was off work, one of the things that I did, I volunteered at housing court. I volunteered at legal services. I actually volunteered with Pratt Area Community Council. You know, I went to all the lending meetings so that when it was a predatory lending, I did because I had a passion for it. But I think if you're just doing it just to get likes, if you're just doing it to, get yourself, it's going to fall apart. Or any organization that they do that just to say, okay, well, I'm part of this. But like you said, there's no action behind and there's no passion behind it. You're not going to stick with something you don't have a passion for.
Well, I think that goes back to the people who even know what they have a passion for. The passion is whatever's hot at the moment. How do we jump on? How do I be down? I saw so-and-so celebrity do it, so I want to be it. You know, I'm going to hashtag this because, and that's not a bad thing as long as the message is a full message. You know, with, like Eric said, with a call to action. Otherwise, you're following, and you're just going to keep following. And there is no storyline to your story. You know, what was that, Nancy? Is it passion or what? So, I don't know what you say.
I said, is that really passion, or is that just impulse based on ego? You know, like, oh, I see Jay-Z or somebody famous tweeting something and hashtagging something. Maybe I like him and I just want to be associated with him. So I'm really not doing it out of passion. I'm doing it out of ego. And I think it's what we've been trying to get at in this conversation is that that's where the co-opting comes in also, right? Is that people start to be people, right? Which just means they're going to find their own personal interest. But what I like where the conversation's going, because it's also taking us to what Kim was saying, is that if you find where you fit in with something you're already truly passionate about, that's been a part of who you are throughout your life, and you naturally gravitate to it, you can find something there to contribute with. And maybe that's a whole conversation for a future video, as we can talk about how do you find the things that match to what interests you and where you have power and influence. Because I think that's something that we're all struggling with a little bit is, which lane do we go in so that we can make huge impact quickly? And, for now, maybe we do just a little bit by hanging on a hashtag, but continuing that conversation and taking it into action is where we're going to make the change.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for that. No, and that's why I said once I understood even the additional layers to the black and white, I still felt good about it because women empowerment is something that I'm passionate about. It is something that needs to change. It's something that I want people to have their voice. I want them to find these people. Those are things that mean something to me. I'm not going to take And it's not that taking other challenges don't mean anything, because I'm someone that I want you to find a cure for ASL. I do not want you to dump a thing of ice over my head for you to find the cure to ASL, because I can give you a check if that's what we're fundraising. I don't need that part of it. So it also comes down to, who are you and what do you need and what are you looking for? And it's like you said, am I jumping on because, or am I jumping on because I have something of added value to add to the conversation? Because what happens is, most of the time, you don't have the rest of the conversation. You just do it. And how many times do you have conversations about what challenges you take or why you took it? We live in a silo effect of, we do something, we check our list, and then we're gone. Instead of saying, hey, did you take part of that challenge? Why did you take part of that challenge? What's your thoughts? What else can we do to make this better? How do I add this into my life tomorrow? No, 9 out of 10, that doesn't happen. So if it's not going to be, there has to be a rhyme and reason, or there should be. I don't like to tell people what to do. There should be a rhyme or reason of why you're hashtagging, why you're getting involved. Is it part of your social justice walk, or is it something that a cause that you just believe in and you want to support? Boom and go. That's okay as well. But when I see the thumbs up in the pictures on everything, I'm like, wow, you just jumping on everything. I don't know how in depth I may even look into that cause. It's like, do you lose someone by just spreading it everywhere? Or do you gain your true followers and your true purpose? That's to be untold. That's running for politics, right? Like, you try to gather as many people and hope who sticks. I think that's what these social media challenges are. So, we were talking about that in our call tomorrow morning. But I think I just sum politics up. Hey, I'm the pulse of people. No, but seriously, it is, at some point you have to have meaning and focus and purpose to these challenges. I think in order for them to, one, be of service of the cause that you're looking for, and two, to go viral with a meaning and a call to action. So I guess my call to action for this webinar is to always remember to have a call to action, to always to sit back and go, why am I doing this, or how am I serving a bigger purpose? My call to action is listen to the podcast. My call to action is I thank you for joining on Wednesdays. My call to action is let's all continue to move in the best direction that we can. There's so much for us to cover. Yes, Nancy, as you said, maybe it is part of what our purpose. One of the things I was thinking about for next week is how are you, I don't remember, it's in my thing. I can now figure it out, but it was all about women and understanding your power and your purpose, and understanding your wealth and your worth. Because now we're in a position that they're throwing, black women just get thrown in positions. You can be president. You can be whatever title you want to be, for $5. And no staff and no this. So how do we all know our worth? And, as women, that's always, John's getting paid more than Sally and this and that. How do we walk in, all of us, and understand and know our worth and know how to ask for it? So that may be part of the purpose. We have a lot to discuss. I enjoy you all. Thank you, as always, joining, and for your voices and your thoughts. I appreciate you so much. See you next week, but I'll see you in between when you know that. Bye, guys. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and you'll join us again soon at Visibility Unlimited. Thank you.